Hey guys, and welcome to Witches of the Moon. This is your Saturday host, Nimbus River. This week we are discussing hexing and cursing, which is ironic because I'm going to be showing you guys a blessing candle that my wife got me. And so it's a little ironic that I'm lighting a blessing candle while talking about cursing. But that's kind of the point of this video. I'm just gonna You're just gonna watch. So the next, like I said, the next couple of videos are gonna be like that. I like the thought of not being consciously seen, so I can be consciously heard. You don't like that? I'm sorry. But anyway, so yes, and you'll notice this is just very nice. This is my uh, little horned ram guy that sits on my altar. So anyway, um, for hexing and cursing, you have to know how to heal and bless, right? So the whole point of this video is to, you know, talk about balance, talk about, you know, I don't want to say like the balance of the polarizations, but I think Natalie said it best when she said, um, you can't heal if you can't kill, kind of thing. That sounds a bit brutal, but I totally agree with her. Um, the thing about it is that you know everybody has gives a bad rep for cursing and hexing, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that you need to throw curses at everybody, throw hexes. I do think they have a consequence to them, just like everything else. But I am also not so naive not to understand that sometimes these things have benefit. Sometimes these things are justified. Sometimes these things are necessary. I often use the example of, if someone was to, break into your home, what would be the steps that you would take? Would you not protect yourself? And I find often that there's a way of protecting yourself when it comes to I find that sometimes the retribution is a part of protection. So and before let's talk a bit about the read, right? So a lot of people, especially if they follow a certain, and I'm not pagan, so I can't really discuss in full detail about how a traditional Wiccan might feel, but often that's thrown in the face of thou shalt not, and it harm none, do what thou will, thou shalt not harm, and arguments like that, and those are great arguments. And I think I think as you should go through life trying not to hurt people. But the thing about it is that all of your actions have a reaction, and often your reaction to an action, regardless of what your intent was, can be negative to the next person. You think about like getting a job, if 10 people are up for a job and you get it, there are going to be 9 people that don't get a job. So I mean, you went in with good intent, but it caused a negative, reaction, or not necessarily a negative reaction, but certainly a very neutral, non-positive reaction. Um, so that's I guess that's kind of my point behind all this, because it's not something that you go out and you make a point to, I'm gonna curse everybody I see today. It's not like that. But often if someone deserves, you know they're just desserts, um you have to do what you feel is right. Now granted, I used to think that hexing and cursing was just part of the job, right? Like if if you were gonna, if you were gonna hex and curse, or if you were going to call yourself any kind of, practitioner of anything, I would say, it's just a part of the job. That's just what you do. If somebody asked you to do it, you'd have to do it. If you're getting paid or whatever, which I don't get paid to do anything. I'm very personal when it comes to stuff. But I mean, that was my thought process. The thing about it is, I do think, and as I get older, I realize that things can stay with you a little longer. So I have often just said, you know what, I am not going to do this. I'm not going to, you know, cause this person to get theirs. That it'll work itself out. And often when I made that assumption, it did work itself out. Granted, there are times where I've often said some people that are just horrible people, they're so horrible and so self-centered, they don't see bad things happening to them. So it's almost like a form of like the like law of attraction, like positivity, but they don't see the negative happening in their life, so it doesn't happen. Sometimes I think it's okay to cause that. Again, it's not something that I go out of my way to perform on people. But and another thought, it just depends on your practice. Like I'm one of those people that I work the Bible in my practice, so the Bible is incredibly sacred to me, incredibly powerful to me. And the book of Psalms is my favorite book of the Bible. Obviously, for anybody that's a practitioner, that would be the case. um, but that book is full of curses. Like, so sometimes, when I don't necessarily need to like do a full on, crazy amount of cursing, I'll just pray a psalm. I'm not going to give you specific psalms, but look it up, read them if you're curious, because you'll know the ones that you'll know the ones that are for this and the ones that are for that for sure. They're very obvious when you read them. Uh, I will say that there are books, of course, that I would recommend when talking about this subject. Utterly Wicked by Dorothy Morrison is a good book. Look that up if you're curious about, the different types of maledictive purposes you can have. Um, I'll also say that, understanding what's necessary and knowing yourself and knowing what you can do is essential, because you don't want to, you need to understand the consequences of every action that you have. Knowing oneself is incredibly important to the practice of any kind of form of spirituality. And in the way that a lot of us work, we're spirituality in practice. We're literally spirituality in active, action. So often, you know, it's misconstrued to think that we we're really hippy dippy and we don't do anything to harm people, and that's not the case. I mean, we're people too, and sometimes we do things and we don't even understand the consequence until after it's done. So to say that one doesn't curse or doesn't hex, also doesn't mean that you don't harm. So that's a thought to go into. So without like getting into specifics, like I'm not gonna sit here and say, you know, this is a good curse and that's a good curse, because that's on you. Like if you want to perform that, like you go for it. You entertain that idea, and you know research it if you want to. I'm one of those people that I just don't share things like that. I might have at one point in my life, but I'm not going to anymore. Um, so you know, that's the video for this week. This is, I think, the last video for this season, I believe, or the farewell videos next, I think. So anyway, hope you guys have a fantastic week. If I haven't said anything in this video that makes sense, there are several other videos that all, to me, make sense. And there are some differing opinions on this topic. as well. So it's always good to hear from multiple people. So yes, if you have any questions, put them down in the comment bar. If you have any comments, do you perform hexing and cursing and things like that? Just let us know and interact because we love that. But until next time, blessings.